If you have followed the podcast, you know that my guy today has already been on a podcast. Then we ended up talking for about 90 minutes. But here we are again. It's a guy with a lot of stuff going on. If you saw TrackMania Awards back in December, he won 3 awards there, as well as being nominated for 2 other awards. Recently, he got 200 out of 200 world records at TrackMania Turbo. And if you follow TrackMania Grand League, well, you are familiar with the voice of Riolu. Riolu, once again, I welcome you back. How is it to be back on the podcast?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me here once again. It's a pleasure after quite a good success for the last podcast, which was truly enjoyable. So I'm happy to be back. And we have plenty of things to talk about, I think. So I'm very looking forward to answering all of your questions that I don't know about.
So I'm taught from an early age that once someone wins something, that's the first thing you should do. You should congratulate them. But where should we start? Because you have done so much. Should we start with TrackMania Turbo? Should we start with TrackMania Awards? Where do you want to start?
I mean, it kind of makes sense to just go all the way back to like the oldest event that we have on our list to cover. And I think from the things that you wanted to talk about, I think it was TrackMania World Championship.
Yeah.
So we can just talk about that.
Let's go ahead, because the last time we spoke was not actually the last podcast, because we also did the preview of the TrackMania Awards or TrackMania World Championship back in that day.
Yeah.
But nowadays you can sort of see the World Championship in a different light, of course, with the Grand League now taking place. Do you think that, before we start talking about your experience, do you think that that might be the last time you saw the World Championship being held in tech?
Yeah, that's actually a good question, because the question always arises: what happens with the TrackMania World Championship now that we have the TrackMania Grand League? Softy, Softy, the guy that is responsible for the TrackMania Grand League, or one of the people that is responsible for that, he specifically stated that in case the TrackMania Grand League beta season is a success, that there will not be a World Championship. So at least by the looks of it, I think that the TrackMania Grand League is off to a pretty solid start in the beta season. So right now, I don't really think that we're going to see a TrackMania World Championship back, like in the way that we've had it in the past with the 2018 edition, of course, with the Mania Planet World Cup, with EastWC back in the days. I don't think we're going to see that format again, at least for a good while, because TrackMania Grand League seems to be kind of a good concept that is definitely up for good potential for the future as well. And now that I'm also kind of a little bit in the behind the scenes kind of for the TrackMania Grand League, I can also tell you like everything is just so much more professional than what we had for the TrackMania World Championship. And I think that's actually the direction that we kind of need to go if we want to push the game forward in esports. So I think it is for the better that we stick to the bigger formats and the formats that are kind of promotable for the bigger scale, for the bigger audience, like TrackMania Grand League. Of course, TrackMania World Championship as a format is great as well. But it seems to be that TrackMania Grand League does work. And I think having that in mind is already a pretty good thing. So maybe it's going to be the last TrackMania World Championship that we had last year. Maybe forever, maybe for a good while, we'll see. But I have a strong bias to, having the Grand League now as the replacement for the World Championship.
Yeah, and we will talk about the Grand League later, but let's talk about your experience as a caster there. How was it to be like the official caster, the main caster of the World Championship? It is the most prestigious event in TrackMania. It has a long history in TrackMania. Did it feel anything special? Because you have casted a lot of events, but did this feel special to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, World Championship, like just the term World Championship, like that's a big thing, right? And being kind of the official voice behind it, together with all of the other casters that did a really good job at covering the whole event from the beginning till the very end. So shout outs to all of the people that have been involved. So it wasn't only me, but of course the entire caster team. But yeah, since I was kind of the main guy who also covered like the big matches at the end of the World Championship, it was a real pleasure and a real honor to take part of it, because taking part in a World Championship, no matter whether you are a player or behind the scenes or the caster or whatever, it is always a great thing to have. And it has been a truly good experience for me as well, because I was able to kind of grow as a caster because I had like the biggest audience ever at the World Championship. I had like 1.5K viewers at that point on Twitch. That was something that I didn't have before. So that's something that is a good experience to have for sure, because normally you're hanging around with less viewers, and now having like 4-digit numbers, that's of course really crazy. So
but have you felt something in the aftermath, like you casted it, you had the biggest stage, have you felt some more attention to your channels, you as a person, or was it just that this was once I had a big stage and people didn't know that it was you?
I think it had a positive impact on my person as well, and on my business, quote unquote, because I uploaded all the VODs on my YouTube channel, and I saw that there was very big interest for all of those videos, especially the grand final, which has been viewed pretty well on YouTube. So yeah, I think it was quite a good step for me as well to grow as a caster, as a person, and to kind of put more spotlight into what I do. And yeah, it did pay off, because after the World Championship, many people came up to me and were like, "Hey, want to cast this? Want to cover this? Because you're doing a great job," stuff like that. So yeah, it's actually a great thing, and I'm very positive about it, about how it turned out at the end, because it gave me a lot of opportunities after that. It wasn't just a one-time thing, but it kind of opened the door for more, and that's a really positive outcome.
Yeah, we are going to talk about TrackMania Awards, but before we talk about you at the TrackMania Awards, the match of the year was the World Championship, it was the grand final. How was it to cast it? How was it to be there? Was you as hyped as everybody else, or was you at least somewhat able to keep your coolness and keep calm?
Oh, oof, yeah, that's actually a good question. I think you could hear pretty well that I was really fucking excited, especially coming towards the end of the match. Because yeah, it was an absolutely crazy match. That was a one-of-a-kind match, which I don't think we're gonna see again in the near future. So yeah, that was an absolutely crazy match, and I'm really happy that I was able to witness it from the front row. Pretty much, I was there, and I was kind of the voice behind the final rounds. You know, like
Yeah.
everyone saw the clips, and it was me talking there. So yeah, it is actually pretty cool looking back at that and seeing all the hype around the final rounds. It's like, still, like, if I take a look at these rounds, I'm like, holy shit, how did I not die there? Like, I was so, like, I was screaming my lungs out. It was so exciting, and I'm really happy that it went that way. I'm really happy that we got such a final for the World Championship. Because, as I said earlier, the World Championship is just a really big thing, and such an ending to the World Championship, that's fucking perfect.
We had a preview episode, like I mentioned. We mentioned some guys, and we talked about maybe Kappa could be a sort of outsider. Now we ended up winning it. Was that somewhat surprising to you, or as the event prolonged, did you sort of, okay, that can actually be possible, we can have Kappa as the world champion?
Yeah, it was definitely something that developed and that kind of evolved during the World Championship, because Kappa wasn't really the most active player, and he only like occasionally played a bunch of competitions here and there. And he was always a good player, but keeping up with the big names like Carl Jr., Peck, Tween, blah blah blah, yeah, you know the names. It is of course going to be a difficult task, but the further we went into the competition, the more it became obvious that he's going to be one of the top contenders, because he played outstandingly in almost every match that he played. So yeah, like pretty much halfway through, I was like, yep, Kappa, he's definitely going to be in the final because of his really good times and consistency. Like he was always at the front. He never really made big mistakes or anything. So I really saw him as a possible contender, not from the beginning, but later on. And then seeing him being actually the victorious player after the aforementioned crazy rounds at the end was, yeah, purely exciting, and really happy for him.
Huh. Yeah, and let's talk about, you said that nowadays you are pretty much the voice of TrackMania. You get, if people have events, they contact you, can you cast this? I myself did it with Man vs. Man. That's maybe something we saw at the TrackMania Awards. The biggest win was you as caster of the year. You got like 80% or something. How does it feel to be now viewed as the main guy? Because it's not like there is only one guy. I think there is even more and more casters, but there seems to be even a bigger and bigger case to be made that you are the voice of TrackMania. How does that feel?
I mean, just the term "voice of Trackmania" is already kind of crazy to think about, to be honest. But yeah, it is crazy to think about because I was mostly a player. You know, I'm playing this game for 11 years now, and I've been a player for the most part, and I still am. You know, and the caster thing or being a caster kind of developed in the kind of recent past, like not too long ago. I kind of started streaming and casting more actively. So it was really kind of a fast development, actually. It was kind of not too fast, but it was, yeah, faster than I really expected it to go. Like, I always enjoyed commentating. And I remember, like, I don't know, when I was younger, we were, I don't know, playing football or something on the football field. And I was always the guy that started talking shit and tried to, like, commentate and be like, whoa, and he scored the goal. What a performance. Amazing guy. How do you feel? Like, I already did that as a kid. And I really found that to be fun. And then I kind of started doing the same stuff in TrackMania, and it seems like it works. So I definitely like how it's turned out, especially because, yeah, to touch upon another thing that I haven't really competed a lot myself in the last years. That's mainly because I started casting a lot, but also because I just don't have the time and motivation to really devote myself to properly practicing for competitions. So it's kind of a good trade-off, actually, at this point. I'm kind of giving away my spot as a player. I mean, not entirely, but a little bit. And yeah, instead take over the caster role. And I think that's a development that I'm pretty positive about, because looking at how TrackMania developed over the past year, and also now with Grand League and other big competitions, I think that the influx of TrackMania competitions is going to be even bigger in the near future. And that is good for me, because then I'm gonna be asked by people to cover the events, and I'm of course gonna be like, yeah, sure, why not? Because I like casting a lot, and I really enjoy every single minute of it. So I'll just take every opportunity, and yeah, I think kind of becoming the voice of TrackMania is a really damn good privilege, and I really appreciate everyone that comes up to me and he's like, yeah, wow, you're such a great caster and you're doing a good job. That really, like, every time I read such comments, it really makes my day. Like, whenever I upload a match on my YouTube channel, for example, there's always like a comment that is super positive about the casting, and that's just such a great motivation. You can maybe imagine how great it is to just get that feedback from the people, and yeah, they're like, wow, this is really good. And yeah, of course, it's really amazing.
Yeah, and you talk about now maybe being the guy, and if TrackMania now moves forward, do you think that you can look back at your career, let's say if 2 years in the future TrackMania is bigger and bigger, that you are happy that you joined before a sort of boom came, so you already was established as the main caster and then just was on the train when it took off and you already was along?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a good thing, and the main reason for that is yeah, the experience aspect, because the more you cast and the more game knowledge you have, the more of an experience you can bring with for your casts, and that adds so much value to the casts. It's actually crazy, because you can be a great hype man and you can commentate really well, and you can really, you know, put emphasis on great fights and stuff like that. But if you don't have the game experience, it's not going to be the 100% full package for a good cast. And that's where I think I have a pretty good head start, kind of, because I have a lot of experience in the game. I'm playing for 11 years. I've been competitive for a super long time in many environments, not only Stadium, but also the others. So I kind of know what's going on. And I think that's a really good value that I can carry with myself also in the future for future casts. So kind of seeing the development of the game and seeing how things changed over the past with yeah, the old competitions that we had, and now with Grand League kind of being a new format once again. I think it's a pretty good thing to have, to be quite honest. So I'm definitely going to be like, yeah, wow, back in the days things were different, and I'm glad that I witnessed that. So yeah, it's a good thing.
But do you see any problems with maybe being the main guy? How do you sort of improve? Do you find other places to watch streams? Do you take something from other TrackMania streamers? How do you try to develop? Because, I mean, you are on the top, but you probably want to improve as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and that's why I always encourage people to send me feedback and tell me what I should improve. Like, even if it's small things like pronunciation of certain words. I had people that came up to me and be like, "Yeah, you're pronouncing this word wrong," and I'm like, "Yo, thank you very much. I think I will definitely try to improve that," because it's just tiny details, but the tiny details make it even better. You know, like you always want to improve, and I'm personally always someone that wants to improve. So yeah, I think also the reason why I watch other casts to kind of improve myself, I watch a lot of Formula One or other motorsports. I think I'm also kind of trying to learn something from that as well, even though it's still a little bit of a different thing. But just getting to know like extra vocabulary, or just learning how to deal with certain situations is a pretty good thing, I think, and that's why I do watch also other casters that have a different casting style to kind of get the best of both worlds, So yeah, I think it is important to do that, because you don't want to just be stuck at one point and just do your own thing and not really care about feedback, because then at some point people are just they're gonna get annoyed and they're gonna be like, yeah, this is not actually good. Please do this better and better. And if you just ignore that feedback, then you're not going to get anywhere, really. So you kind of have to go with the flow, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do.
And if you are to say something to, let's say, up-and-coming streamers that might not get the attention that you get because now you pretty much cover every event, how would you say that they should go ahead and try to grow as a caster and try to get these sort of opportunity to cast events?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty hard question, because as you said, when certain things are covered, then you have the majority of people that are just going to watch that. That's just a fact. Let's say if I cast Gamers Assembly, everyone is going to watch my cast. So it's kind of hard, and I can see the lack of motivation from other people to maybe cast it as well, because they're going to be like, oh yeah, riolu's going to stream it, so why should I stream it, Yeah. Many people are probably going to go with that mindset, and I can honestly understand that. So I think a good opportunity is just to take the things that I maybe don't cover and go with that, and just try to find something that you can maybe establish yourself with. For example, all of the French Cups, for example, you can go ahead and cover all of these, because those are not really covered. At this point, there's sometimes a POV from people like Marius89 who are streaming their POVs, but there isn't really a cast. So you gotta use these opportunities, I think, and always keep an eye out on possible casts that you can provide as a maybe smaller streamer, and try to use that to grow, and also use your mindset of improving as well, because especially when you're small, you want to stick out with something special, kinda. Yeah. So you don't want to be your generic caster that is just going to be like, oh, yep, he got a bug. Yep, he got first, he got second, he has X amount of points now. Like, you don't want to be a generic caster, but you want to stick out with something special. And I think that's something that you need at this point. And if you think you have that, then you should just do it continuously. And at some point, it will work out, because at some point, you will just have that kind of audience where it starts to grow. And when you get to that point, you can already be pretty happy about it. And seeing the growth is always really motivational as a caster, as a streamer, as a content creator. It can be applied everywhere. So yeah, that's kind of what you have to do, I guess, at this point, like to keep it real.
Yeah. I'm in a case when I talk to people that I think it's good that we have like a main caster, because then, let's say a casual player that might not follow everything, he's like, okay, a competition is coming up, riolu probably streams it, so I tune into him, instead of he having to search during multiple channels, go to TrackMania on Twitch and search. But what do you think? Is it is it best to have a main caster, or should it be some sort of relation on it, that people get different opportunities? What do you think here?
I think this can actually be broken down to the main problem of TrackMania, and that's the separation of so many things. You have so many different things for everything, like you have all the title packs for every single freaking game mode. Like, everything is really, really spread. And you have 1 gazillion Discord servers for every single event instead of one centralized place. And I think we shouldn't go the same way for streams. We should have like a centralized place and not really have like a monopole, of course, because that's also stupid, but have a select amount of people that are dedicated on providing as much coverage as possible and not really spreading it onto 150 different casters, because at the end of the day, as you said, it doesn't make a lot of sense, because then people are just not going to find the content that they're looking for. And then you have like one viewer everywhere, you know, like you have one viewer per streamer. And that's also not really what the game needs in order to grow. You need like 1, 2, or 3 big casters, maybe 1 per language, to really get anywhere. And yeah, I think that's kind of the way that it has to go. Otherwise, I don't really see a possible growth to be possible in the future.
And we have the TrackMania Grand League, and we have different streams now. We have some French, we have some Polish, we have some German. Would it interest you to actually cast in your native language, which is German, or would you still prefer to talk English?
Not at all, actually. Not at all. I'm so not good at casting in German because I just simply lack the experience. So I would gladly pass. Of course, the German cast has its flaws because, as I said earlier, they lack the game experience. We're talking about the stream from Trilux here. I think he does a really good job at hyping this stuff up, hyping especially the German-speaking players up. I really like how he's doing that. Not sure if you actually saw his casts.
Me?
Yeah, you.
No, I don't understand German, so no.
Yeah, but maybe you watched some clips, because there were a bunch of viral clips about certain parts of the cast. But yeah, okay, never mind. But to touch on one tiny thing that Trilux always does, in between maps, he's always joining like people like Massa or Dexter or Roland, and he has an air horn, right? Like a really loud air horn. He goes into the voice chat and he spams that fucking air horn, and he's really hyping up the show. He's like, "Yo, you got this, man! You're such a good player. You're gonna fuck them up in the next map. Let's go, man! Let's make it happen." And that's a cool thing, you know. But then, as I said, he's lacking the game experience. But it's still an enjoyable cast, of course. But yeah, I just don't have the experience in German, so I would rather not do that because it would be fucking terrible. So I would really just stick to English, because for me it's a good way to improve my spoken English as well, and that's also something that I want to achieve by casting. I want to, you know, get myself a fluent English, you know. So I would definitely not go for German anytime soon. It would be not good.
But you talk about maybe having like a hype guy and then having some expert like yourself. Do you think that we should establish some sort of roles in TrackMania that, okay, it's pretty clear that you are the guy who hyped it up and this guy is the one who is the expert? Because at the moment I feel like maybe both are sort of doing the same thing. It's not like clear role in casting in TrackMania, at least.
I think it kind of depends. Sometimes it can work just fine without the clear separation of roles, but sometimes I think it could be pretty good, especially when you have, for example, the Trilux stream again. You have maybe Trilux as the hype man, and then you have someone else that is maybe bringing a little bit of expertise into the cast and kind of bring along the tiny details of the race. What's happening right now? Like what is Massa doing right now? Why is he doing this line? Why is he faster? Stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's a pretty cool thing to have, because that will add a lot of value. But it depends. It shouldn't be done everywhere. So, yeah.
My last casting question for you. You are a caster of the year, but if you are to look outside yourself, who do you see as an up-and-coming casting talent, and that people maybe should tune into and watch some of his cast, or her for that matter?
There's 3 people that I can think of right now. One of them is Spam. I think he's a great caster. When he takes it really seriously, I think he does a pretty good job at covering everything, because he's kind of similar to me. He has a very clear pronunciation. He's good at handling hype situations, and he also has incredible amount of game knowledge. So I think Spam is someone that is really good at it. Then we have Radiance, who I think is a pretty good shot for the future as well, because he's also not super like old in the scene. He's still kind of new. He didn't really cast a lot in the past. He's kind of, you know, the new guy in class. But I think he's already doing a great job, and I can see a great future for him as well if he continues what he does. So Radiance also, and then we have Scotsman, who I believe can also shine through with his speciality of his accent. That's what makes him really special, and I think that's something that he can really build up on, because he has something that others don't have.
Yeah.
You know, others don't have that accent, and I think he's also someone that is, you know, experienced. He knows what he's talking about, and he can talk about it in a very interesting way with his accent. So that's also something that you can use to kind of put yourself on the market and put yourself on the big spotlight of casters that you have and let yourself shine through. So these three people, I would say.
Yeah, that is kind of funny that you mentioned the sort of accent, because I think when people join a stream with duo cast, they often ask, who is this guy? But I think when Scotty is casting, it's like, okay, that is a Scottish guy who's casting again.
Exactly.
But let's move on, because he was not only caster of the year, he was successful at the TrackMania Awards. He was also winning the Valley Player of the Year and Lagoon Player of the Year. How does it feel to win these awards? Does it mean the same as caster of the year, or how would you sort of place them together?
I would definitely value these two awards a bit lower on the grand scheme of things compared to the Caster of the Year, because the Caster of the Year still involved more work, like over the entire year, compared to Valley and Lagoon Player of the Year, which are, you know, they're not really the greatest competitive environments. There's not a lot going on. So I just played basically casually in the competitions, and I happened to win most of them, and I ended up winning the awards, which is of course a cool thing, and I do think that I kind of deserve that, looking at the results. But yeah, I think the caster thing is just something that I value a lot more, and that's something that I would also talk about more than the other two awards. Like, they're nice to have, of course, but they're just not as valuable as Cast of the Year.
So it's not like you go to your friends and brag like, okay, I got Valley Player of the Year, but you might mention that, yeah, I'm Caster of the Year in TrackMania.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good comparison. Yes,
Yeah.
I'll probably yes.
But but I'm probably sort of ignorant when it comes to this kind of stuff. I'm not really following outside of TrackMania Stadium and maybe the tech environment and now Grand League. But how is the landscape in Valley and Lagoon at the moment? Is it somewhat going up or is it going down?
Valley has been very stable for the last years, because the only thing that really goes on in Valley are the Smurfs Cups, and they are still stable, and we have a pretty decent player base still playing them, and pretty cool competition with a bunch of players. Always the same players, but it's still a nice competition all the time. But Lagoon is dead. I think that's pretty safe to say. There's nothing in Lagoon, and I don't see anything happening in Lagoon anytime soon. We had the Professional Enduro Cup, which I don't know if you heard about it, but they are also not hosting them anymore. You had occasional editions in Lagoon, so now with the PEC falling out of the thing, there's no Lagoon competition. So Lagoon will be dead, and I would be certainly surprised if there was even Lagoon for the awards 2019.
But let's then talk about maybe another award that you were nominated for, but I believe you got second, Streamer of the Year. And how do you see the sort of streaming environment in TrackMania? Because from my perspective, it's at least going up, and you see just more and more. But from you as a streamer, how do you see the streaming landscape in TrackMania?
I can definitely confirm what you said. The amount of TrackMania streamers that you have nowadays, it is gaining. It is growing day by day, pretty much. You always have new people joining the streaming thing because they're like, oh yeah, cool, this is a cool thing, and people are watching it, people are having fun, so hey, I'm gonna do the same. And that's pretty cool to see, because the more streams we have, the more potential visibility we have for outsiders, you know? Because you might have a guy that isn't familiar with TrackMania, then he's going to find one of these streams and he's going to be like, hey, cool game. I'm maybe going to try it out myself. And that's just how it grows. It's like a snowball effect, kind of. And the snowball effect also applies to streamers. As I said before, you have people that watch a stream, they find it cool, they want to do it themselves. And that's just how it grows. So it is an important thing, and it's something that has happened in 2018 pretty well. A lot of new streamers have joined, and a lot of streamers have actually grown as well, thanks to the Raider Cup, thanks to other French Cups, thanks to just activity, by being an active streamer and by giving content that maybe hasn't been covered very well. One big example being Mudda in this case. Mada, who is of course known as a full speed player, arguably the best one on the world. And he also started streaming actively in 2018. He's kind of the guy that definitely grew the most, I would say, out of the TrackMania streamers, next to a bunch of French people. But from the English speaking Twitch community, because that's the one I follow the most, since my French is meh, to say the least. But yeah, I'm following a lot around what's happening in the Twitch community in the English speaking area. And yeah, from there, Mada definitely did a great step forward. He even got very close to the partnership, which is something that is not easily obtainable on Twitch. So that's really nice to see. But yeah, I'm definitely positive for this year as well, to see even more streams and more possible visibility for the greater audience, especially now that we have TrackMania Grand League. You have people that come from the French stream, from Team Solary, who are bringing the French cast for TMGL, or from Trilux, who are giving the German cast. And from these streams, you have new people joining the game and potentially new streamers, and that's just how it grows. So it's a great thing.
Yeah, and if we just finish off the TrackMania Awards with sort of the topic that maybe some people, I don't know how to evaluate it, because once you put like yourself and maybe spam up for the same awards like Streamer of the Year, it might not be who people view as the best, but more like a popularity contest. But what do you overall see? What should the TrackMania Awards change in the future to somewhat get a more prestigious feeling, somewhat get more highly viewed in the community?
The thing that I think about awards like that in general, not necessarily about the TrackMania Awards itself, but awards in general, is that it's always a popularity contest. No matter what you do, it will always be a matter of who's the most popular and who has maybe the biggest audience to get the most votes. So I don't think, or at least I can't think of any concept that can make it fair for everyone and to make it a kind of objective award thingy, because at the end of the day, it is about personal opinion, and personal opinion isn't objective, right? Yeah. Or for the most part, it isn't. So it's kind of hard to say. I think the way that the awards are handled right now is pretty good, with some small improvements being possible, of course, everywhere, as always. But I think the way that it was in 2018 should be kept. I don't think that big changes should be done anymore, because I don't really think that it's going to change for the better.
Yeah, this year I tried to sort of, last year, or if we would then 2017, I just had one guy on and he picked 4 nominees. This year I tried to have somewhat a jury, so it gets more objective, but then even the jury itself, they all have subjective meaning, so they will not always agree with the community. It's just 5 people, so you will not always represent the whole community. But if I ask you this, should the TrackMania Awards be some sort of group picking awards, and then like this is the winner this year, the jury has decided, or should it still be the community based, that the community can share what they actually think?
I'm not sure how it exactly went back in the back behind the scenes for the TrackMania Awards, but you had the public award or the public votes where people could suggest players to win a category. But I felt like at some point it was just useless, because then people just started writing what other people wrote. Like, let's say we have category X, and we had 5 people writing the same thing, and then maybe people that didn't really know about that certain category, people that are just not familiar with that, they just wrote the same thing for the sake of writing it, you know? So maybe that is kind of redundant, because at the end of the day, it is mostly obvious who should be awarded or who should be nominated. So maybe the public votes didn't really work as well as they should have at the end of the day. But a jury is definitely necessary. A jury with a couple of people that know what they're talking about. Maybe a jury for a certain category and then another jury for something else. I think that's the way that it should go to get the most transparent possible result.
Yeah, this year I asked 5 guys to cover 28 awards. I feel sorry about them, because obviously they cannot cover everything. And let's say, how should you know Lagoon Player of the Year if you just play Stadium?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the problem. That's what I said. That's why you need maybe a few more people that are experts in certain regions, in certain areas. and then combine the best together and have a good team for the votes.
Yeah, and let's talk about something that can be viewed as achievement of the year or performance of the year. I don't know how to put it, maybe moment of the year, story of the year. You got 200 out of 200 world records at TrackMania Turbo. I spoke to you back in, I believe, 2016 when you got all the Super Track Masters. You said that day will always be remembered. You will always remember the date. But now you have all the world records. How do you, what can you say about this achievement?
Yeah, it's quite a long story. I could probably write a whole book about it. But yeah, as you said, reaching the 200 Super Track Masters in 2016 back in the days, that was already a big achievement because I was the first one to do it. And it took quite a while for the second one, who was Spam, to get them all as well. So, of course, it is a great achievement to, have that done back in the days. And of course, it's also something that I will never forget. But the goal of reaching the 200 world records, which I thought was absolutely impossible, like completely 100% impossible, yeah, at the end became reality. So that's something that is, so much bigger than the 200 Super Track Masters. I wouldn't say that now it is easy to get the get the 200 Super Track Masters. But yeah, it's a completely different thing. It's so much of a bigger achievement than the 200 Super Track Masters. Yeah, as I said, I really didn't think that it would be possible to get them all. And I just kind of started playing Turbo actively, I believe in August 2018. I just started playing casually once again to grab myself a couple world records because I didn't really play the game for like a year straight without like any sort of contact to Turbo. And I thought it might be a good thing to do on stream, to maybe play a little bit of Turbo again, to hunt some records, have some fun. And that's it, And my initial goal was to just get as many records as I could. I started in August 2018 with roughly 105 records, so that was like halfway through. And yeah, as I said, I thought it would be impossible. But the more I hunted and the closer I got to the 200, the more I got motivated to grind those really shitty tracks that were left at the end. You probably saw what kind of tracks I had to hunt with really, really lucky shortcuts that took me 2-digit hours to beat.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I put myself through that torture is because the goal of reaching the 200 was something that probably no one will ever get, because no one is really on a skill level on all 4 environments like me to be able to get the 200 records. So I kind of thought it was my destiny to do it. I was like the chosen one to go for the 200, So that was also kind of the motivation. If I wouldn't do it, no one else would do it. So that was really a big, big motivation for me to just grind all of these shitty maps that were left at the end with the shortcuts and records that were really, really hard to beat. And yeah, at the end, I was successful after more than half a year of pretty much constant grinding. And I gotta say, I don't regret having done it, because it is a great, great achievement. Definitely one of the greatest achievements that I have gotten in my 11 years of playing the game. So I'm very, very proud of that. And yeah, I think now I'm kind of done with the game. I don't think I have anything else left in the game to be done, because I just got everything that is available in the game. So I wouldn't see myself completely retired from the game, because I do get the question from people that wonder whether I'm going to recover the 200 records and try to keep them. The answer is yes, but not with as much of a priority anymore. I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I got to beat this immediately after a person beats my record. I'm going to be like, yeah, whenever I feel like it, I'm going to try to beat it. So I will still maybe play the game occasionally to get the records back. But now that the 200 is done, I'm also kind of closing the chapter, closing the books, and I'm just going to open it sometimes to read a little bit in that book, but then close it again, you know? So that's kind of the thing. But in the grand scheme of things, the overall experience of the hunt was really, really hard for me. Like, it was mentally draining as fuck at sometimes, because I was really playing every day. I put multiple hours into grinding the records, and every time I lost one, it was kind of a demotivation, seeing that you're being thrown back and you have to put time again into getting the records back. So it was kind of hard at some points to keep my motivation up. And I was contemplating on quitting sometimes as well. I was really close to saying, yeah, I'm gonna quit. I can't be arsed anymore. Why am I doing this? But knowing in the back of my mind that if I get it, it would be such a great achievement. That was such a big motivation that it always overweighted the negative things and the negative thoughts. So I always kept going no matter what. Like, even if I felt a little down, I just kept grinding. And that was a really, really hard mental test for me. And I'm glad I passed that test because, yeah, I think others wouldn't be able to do it. And I'm happy that I did it.
But was there a certain point when you felt that okay, now I have so many world records, it will be stupid to stop? Let's say having 150 out of 200. Okay, if I stop now, it will maybe not look the best if I have 175. Was there a point where you said, okay, now I have so many, I have to get him all? Or was it even into the last one, okay, I can quit?
No. It was definitely at some point that I had to move on. And I had to finish the job that I started. It kind of became really serious when I got to 190. Because at 190, I only had shortcuts left almost. So I got all of the skill-based records down, and I was like, oh no, 10 of these records, oh Jesus. But I just had to do it. I had to do it because I got so far, and quitting at that point would be stupid. It would be a wasted time, and it would be a wasted potential, and I would disappoint the people who expected me to get to 200. So I just kept going, and yeah. Everything after the 190, that was the point where it was the hardest, basically. I wouldn't say it was easy to get the 190, but it was definitely easier compared to the last steps. Because starting at 190, I continuously lost records back and forth. So I got one, but lost another one. And then I gained that one back, but I lost another one again. So it was always like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I believe it was like 2 or 3 weeks straight that I was stuck at 196 or something. So that was the point, what I said before, that was super, super demotivating because you're just fucking stuck there. And you have other people, you have 20 other people that are hunting you, you know? Like, it has been so active, and that's something that other people, I think, don't really acknowledge. People say, yeah, Turbo is dead, no one plays Turbo. But they have no idea how many people actively tried to hold me back for the 200s. How many people tried to beat me. So Turbo was more active than any TM2 solo campaign in a long time. And I can tell you that as someone who hunted TM2 campaigns for a long time. So it has been a really, really exhausting grind, and getting, you know, always this back and forth. It was really hard, but yeah, the support from the chat that I got in my streams was a great motivation as well. They were always like, yeah, keep going, you got this, man, you're the best, you know. And those were really, really good words to hear sometimes, and those were also the reason why I kept going. If I were alone, doing it off stream or doing it for no one, I wouldn't have done it. No way. I only did it because it was entertaining. It was something that people wanted to see, and it was something that I also enjoyed to hunt the records in all 4 environments. So I did it.
Yeah, now you have achieved a great thing, but you also bring up some sort of comments that saying, okay, Turbo is dead. This is something, not a big achievement. Does that somewhat put, I don't know, a black spot on the memory from you, or are you so knowledgeable and you know so much about how much this take that you still view this as maybe your biggest achievement ever in TrackMania?
I usually ignore the people that say, yeah, Turbo is dead and this achievement isn't really worth a lot, because they don't know what they're talking about. They haven't followed the game, and they haven't followed my journey for the most part, so they're just having this objective opinion that people have about Turbo being dead. Of course, it is a dead game. No one plays it online, for example. The game is mostly played on consoles. But the game wasn't dead when I started to stream it, and the game wasn't dead when I started to get the records. That's where people actually came back to the game to give me some competition. I wouldn't say that's a dead game. When you have a competitive field of 20 players, it's not dead, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because you have this competitive environment, and how is that dead? Like, it's not dead when people continuously try to push the limits of the game. How is that dead? I don't understand the people that say the game is dead because they see the online numbers, they see, it's like 3 people playing online, such a dead game. They don't know, and that's why I just ignore the comments like that, and I maybe sometimes try to convince these people and tell them the truth and tell them what's really behind the thing, because I don't want these people to die stupid. I want them to know what really happened and what really is a fact and what isn't. So for me it is a personal goal, and I'm really proud that I did it because I thought it was impossible, and I really tested my mentality, and I also improved a lot as a player. I learned a lot about certain environments. I got to know certain new techniques as well, new shortcuts and stuff like that. So it was, for me, a great experience, and I wouldn't let anyone talk that down because I just don't care, right?
Yeah.
It is a personal goal that I'm really proud of, and yeah, that's the end of the story.
Yeah, if the game was dead, you probably just play it alone, and then eventually you have a time to beat somewhat a super track master. You have a goal, and then you beat it. But now you mentioned that it was like 20 people trying to beat you. Didn't that make the experience just more fun? That you felt like, okay, I'm challenging like 20 people, and I'm by myself.
Yep, definitely. On thinking about it, it was actually a real blessing to have all the people continuously fighting me. Because, some records, for example, were really easy to beat, and I maybe I would have been done faster with getting to 200 than I wanted it to be, maybe. So, I'm happy that people really try to challenge me and push me to my limits as well, because that also added value to the whole journey. As I said before, there were 20 people hunting. If I was the only one hunting the 200 just alone, it wouldn't have been as impressive of an achievement as if 20 people were constantly chasing you. I think that's pretty easy to understand. And I'm glad that it happened that way. Because, that way I could push myself even further. That way we all had more fun, more excitement. Of course, more salt sometimes as well, seeing a record getting beaten. But at the end of the day, I'm happy that it was exactly like this and not any other way.
If you are to compare this achievement to other achievements in the game, maybe yourself at Gamers Assembly 2015 when you won 2 events there, maybe to Carl Jr. winning ESWC 3 times. Where can you place this achievement on the all-time list? Because it's certainly up there, right?
It's hard to say, because I wouldn't really say that it's fair to compare time attack achievements to, let's say, a competitive rounds event that you have at ESWC or something. So it's kind of hard to draw the line here and to say where I would place this achievement on the overall history books of TrackMania. I would agree that it's definitely something that is valuable, that is something that people will remember also in the next years. I'm pretty sure people won't forget this, and already this fact makes it pretty valuable in my eyes. Not quite as impressive as winning the World Championship 3 times, I would say, but then again, it is not really fair and not really possible to compare that, so yeah.
Let's talk about the hottest topic in TrackMania. Is TrackMania Grand League. You are the caster. We touched a little bit about it, the sort of transition from the World Championship to Grand League. You said that you are in favor of this, but how is it the overall experience now? You have casted 6 steps, you have casted qualifications. As a caster, what kind of experience and sort of view do you sit again with now that the 6 steps are over?
My general opinion about the TrackMania Grand League definitely became more positive as I went through the steps. In the beginning, I was pretty excited when I saw the announcement about the TrackMania Champions League back in the days. It later got renamed to TrackMania Grand League. I was very excited about seeing an endurance format, because I see myself as someone that is pretty good at endurance racing, since I am more of a consistent player, not really the fastest maybe at some point, but I am pretty consistent. And I was really looking forward to competing myself. I originally didn't mean to cast, because I just didn't know what they were planning. So I was mainly trying to play and to qualify. So I tried to qualify through the German qualifier. It did not work out for me, because I would blame the maps on it, because the maps were pretty technical. I'm not the greatest tech player, so my performance was consistent, but not enough. I didn't get the big boy points at the end, the points that first and second place would have gotten on each map, so I didn't get the big points at the end, so it wasn't or it didn't enable me to qualify at the end of the German qualifier. So I was like, okay, too bad. I did my best. I was still happy about my performance because I did drive consistently. I didn't really make a lot of mistakes, so I was happy with my pace. And I wasn't necessarily unhappy about what I did in that qualification evening. Of course, sad that I wasn't able to compete. But yeah, that's just how it is. You can't just always win, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, maybe next time I'm going to make it happen. And then I got contacted to be the official caster, to, you know, be behind the scenes, to help out also with maps. So yeah, instead of the player, I'm now a little bit behind the scenes of the TrackMania Grand League, which I believe gave me a pretty good insight into what to expect in the future for TrackMania. Now seeing how much effort is being put into the TrackMania Grand League, for example, the online interface that you see on the streams, like all of the graphics, all of the information that you see, that's just a really good thing, and that really shows that Nadeo is really willing to push the game forward and that they're willing to improve the game as well. Especially looking back at the mid-road bug scenario that Hylas was actively trying to figure out. So he was asking for players to send in their replays. They were really trying to fix this issue and to make the game a better place and to make it more consistent and more competitive at the end of the day. So I think having this insight into what's happening behind the scenes really made me more positive about it, because I think in the beginning I was also a bit pessimistic about the point distribution, similar to everyone else pretty much. Everyone was like, wow, why would you lose points? This is so unfair. This is such a shitty point system. But now that I have witnessed a bunch of steps and now that I, you know, casted it myself, I think it is something that is a good concept. Maybe not 100% perfect. I am pretty sure that this format can be improved by a little bit. It can be fine-tuned, I would say. But in the general scope of things, I think that the format is innovative. It is fun. It is exciting. And the players have arranged with themselves as well. So yeah, I'm definitely positive about the TrackMania Grand League as a project, as a concept for the future as well. Because compared to TrackMania Grand League, the level of professionality is just so much higher. It's actually crazy. TrackMania World Championship was mainly hosted by Softy back in the day, so it was kind of a one-man show almost. And now that you have Ubisoft Nadeo, you have ZQSD, or however they're called, the production team that is also behind the Zerator Cup. So they're actually professionals who are working on this. And just having people that know what they're doing, people that have the capacity, and Ubisoft having the money on top of that, which is very important, is a really good recipe for the future. So I am very positive about the TrackMania Grand League because I enjoy it. I enjoy watching it. I enjoy casting it. And I see it as a great opportunity for the game.
I recently, after the Step 5, I did an interview, or not an interview, I asked 4 questions to the 15 players who has played the 5 steps and then will continue playing it. I asked if they could change one thing, what would that be? People mentioned maybe the qualification system, maybe the maps, maybe the point system. If you had some sort of, I have one option, I can change one thing and they will change it, what would that be?
So you're asking me if there was one thing to change, what would it be?
Yeah, if you had like, SoftyB says, okay, I give you one thing you can change, nobody can argue against that, you have some sort of dictator role on that one thing.
Okay. There's 2, maybe 3 things that I would like to see changed. I would be willing to try out a less punishing point deduction for positions 9 to 16. I would probably go ahead and try something like a 50% point reduction instead of 100%. That is a suggestion that came from many people already. I would be willing to give it a try, and I would be willing to see how it would have an impact on the overall standings and the mentality of the players. Because I did read what the players wrote in your interview sort of thing that you did with the 15 players. And I do agree with, for example, the backmarker players that usually get in the bottom positions. I do agree that it is hard for them to keep up the motivation because they know they can't compete, and that obviously makes it difficult for them to compete. So maybe with less of a point deduction, the motivation is going to be a bit bigger for them because they're not going to be thrown back to zero in case they get a bad position, but they can maybe still fight if they get a good map. So I think that is something that could have a positive impact, but it needs to be observed well. It shouldn't be like, we do it now and it's going to stay like this, but it should be just a test, and just, try it out and see if it works. A bit sad that it wasn't done in the beta season, because a beta season is a beta season for a reason, to try out things. So I'm a bit, not disappointed, but I'm a bit, I'm asking myself why it hasn't been tried out yet, because there was so much negative impact or negative feedback about the point system that I wonder why they didn't try anything else. But that would be something that I personally would like to see. On top of that, the second thing would be to not have the regional qualifiers, because the skill gap that is coming out of that is pretty big. I think we can all agree on that the skill gap that arises from a qualification system like this in a game like TrackMania, which is mainly Europe-based, is not really working out. So I would like to see something else being done for the qualifications, something like a free-for-all, where everyone can just drive and the top 16 qualify, or something else, some sort of tournament bracket, I don't know. But yeah, I think the country thingy isn't working out for now, because the game is too small. The majority of the players are centered in 2, 3, 3.5 countries, and that's not really it's not really advocating for a country-based qualification at this point. It would work if there were more players spread all over the globe, but right now that's just not the case. So I don't really see the point in having that again.
Yeah, and recently we had the open qualifier because Sky was disqualified, and then everybody who wanted had a shot. I asked you if you were supposed to go for it and had a shot, but you said you have some sort of contract with the casting side of it. What do you, if you had the option, if you had no contract, would you go for it, or do you enjoy the casting so much that, okay, I have this opportunity, I am the main caster, I will focus on this?
That's actually a great question, and I was actually asking that myself as well. What would I have done?
Yeah.
Because I would have loved to qualify just for the sake of competing, because I am pretty sure with the current state of the players and the maps, I'm pretty sure I would have been a top 5 player overall, because I'm just consistent, not the fastest. I probably would never win €100. I would never take first on a map, but I would definitely see myself as someone that always gets top 8, because I'm a consistent player and I can save, and I have the experience in that. So I would, in that regard, I'm of course a bit sad that I couldn't participate. But on the other hand, looking at the caster side, I started casting 6 steps, and now all of a sudden just not casting anymore would be kind of an upset for many people, I believe, because many people like what I do, and then all of a sudden having another caster or another casting team would maybe be a bit out of place, if you know what I mean. It would be a bit weird to all of a sudden just change up everything and go from caster to player. Imagine, I don't know, a football commentator going from commentator and now then he is like playing with the boys on the football field. That's kind of weird. So I think, as I said before in the podcast, I enjoy casting more than playing. I cast more than I compete nowadays. So yeah, I'm happy that I have this kind of contract with the TMGL to be the caster, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
So if the scenario comes up for Season 1, you have the option, Softy says, okay, we want you as a caster, but you can qualify as a player if that's what you want. What will you pick then?
I think I would cast.
Yeah.
I think I would actually cast. I like it more than playing. Playing would involve time, it would involve practice, and I'm a lazy shit, so I would rather just go ahead and cast, because it's just so much fun.
I think after the last step it became somewhat a topic that some people don't like these interviews between the maps. I believe Spam said it on his stream. Massa, who played his first step, complained about it, probably because of this air horn that you somewhat mentioned now.
Maybe.
But what do you, as a guy who is in charge of it, maybe somewhat has been asked to do these interviews, what is your feeling about it? Should the interviews be done between maps? Should it be before and after? What is your feeling here?
Yeah, first of all, to clarify, yes, we are told to give some interviews, or at least that was the plan. And we did do that in the first and second step, I believe, but the feedback wasn't really amazing. Players were complaining about it because we disturbed their warm-up, which is fair enough. Absolutely, I do understand. And also it was kind of awkward to just jump in and be like, hey, you fucked up map 1. How do you feel? I mean, I don't know. That's kind of awkward. And I also immediately noticed, yo, that's shit.
Yeah.
So I just decided not to do them. And we just did it once in the previous step because Radiance came up with it. And I was like, okay, maybe after map 1, we could give it a try.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was right after map 1. We were like, okay, we can give it a try again and see how it works out. Turns out that it didn't work out very well. So I will definitely not do any interviews anymore. We could think about having them, as you said, maybe before a step and maybe after. But yeah, in between, I think we gotta respect the warm-ups for the players. We gotta respect that they maybe want to have some cooldown phase where they just contemplate about the map that happened before, think about what they're gonna do on the next map, re-evaluate their strategy maybe as well. It kind of sucks to just jump in and ask weird-ass questions. Yeah. So I personally, I'm not a fan of them, and I will not do them myself anymore.
Yeah, there's something you bring up like this before interviews, because I myself, I also thought it's kind of weird to be interviews in between maps, and I'm probably one of the guys who in TrackMania who likes interviews the most, and that's why I do it myself. But do you miss some sort of preview show instead of now you have this timer going down from 1 or from 10 minutes to 0, and then you have 5 minutes to talk, and then jump straight into it? Instead, you can have some sort of 30 minutes or 50 minutes preview show. You talk with some players about it to build it up, to get attention around this step, to get the players feeling. I would at least think it was sort of a better experience for myself, at least. What is your... Do you miss some sort of preview show here?
It's actually a good point that you bring up there. It's something that I haven't really thought about, and that never really has been brought up before by anyone. So it's good that you bring this up, and I do believe that if it's done well, I think it can very well raise up the production value and the general professionality of the cast. So yeah, a preview show with players, maybe not 50 minutes. I think that's a bit,
15,
a bit exaggerated. 15?
Yeah.
Yes, 15 would definitely work better. I first thought 50. I was like, damn, dude.
Me and you, we talk for 15 minutes easy, right?
yeah, of course. That's a different story.
But yeah, for me, like having some sort of maybe talk with players, maybe talk with some people in TrackMania, so we can build up not only commentating, but maybe some sort of analyze desk, some sort of expert desk. They have some predictions and such. At least from we have it in other sports, so why not bring it to TrackMania?
Yeah, that's definitely something that we can discuss internally and maybe bring it up for the upcoming steps, or maybe for season 1, whenever that's going to be. But yeah, I think it could be a good idea. Also, something that the players might be agreeing with more than mid-race interviews.
Yeah,
because before the race, they have they're not as much pressurized. They're maybe a bit more chill and can talk about some things and maybe use the time to, I don't know, just forget about the pressure a little bit.
Yeah. And
just to have a fun time a little bit. So yeah, it's a good idea, something that we haven't thought about. And yeah.
Yeah, and if my last question about the TrackMania Grand League was also the last question I asked the players. If you are to pick a winner, who do you see winning the beta season after the 10 steps are over?
In the beginning, I really wasn't sure because there were a lot of people, of course, that I saw taking it home. There were a lot of people, and there are a lot of people who are really, really fast. However, now after the first 6 steps, you clearly see 2 favorites, Carl Jr. and Pack. You clearly see they are stomping the competition right now by continuously placing in the top positions on every single map. No matter what style, no matter what kind of map we have, they're always up for a good surprise. Well, not really surprise, but a good performance rather. They're always taking first, second, third, always getting the big boy points. So those 2 have really shown to be another level higher than the rest of the top 8. So these 2 are definitely going to be the top contenders for the victory. but I also wouldn't count out people like Kappa and Spam and Scrappy, who I believe can also put up a great fight if they have a good map, a map that suits them, and a map where they can avoid big mistakes from happening. Kappa, for example, is someone that can really motivate himself when it really matters. We have seen the first couple of steps didn't really go well for Kappa because it was still the beginning. He was kind of still discovering the mode, trying to kind of acclimatize himself with the format and everything. So Kappa, I believe, once he gets into the playoffs, which is his goal, as he said, if he gets into the playoffs, then I think he's going to be a great contender on some maps, maybe not on all type of maps, but on maps that are heavily technical, I see Kappa as a good contender for the top places. And I would say the same for Spam and Scrappy. They can both be incredibly fast, but also heavily map dependent, I would say. And Scrappy really needs to figure out his gamepad. I'm still salty about it. That for the second time in a row, he is suffering from gamepad issues. I don't understand why he's not getting a new gamepad. He has his organization, and I'm pretty sure he has a spare 20-30 euro to get himself a new gamepad. I don't understand why it's not done. I really don't understand, because he threw away a lot of points. And if I were him, I would be very salty if I would get 9th at the end before the playoffs, and I'm missing like 10 points, which I lost due to the gamepad.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point there. Why not buy it? This, at least for this event, it's so much money at stake. It's so much attention at stake.
Yeah.
But if you look outside, because you talk about the playoffs, you have the top 8 players, I believe, will qualify to a potential playoffs. There's no official information, at least for my info. Who do you see making it? Can like Amasa, who joined Step 6 and only got 4 points there, can he make it? Or do you think that this between the 9 people that you had before Masa joined?
I think the majority of the players that are in the top 8 right now are going to make it. I don't really see a lot of change anymore, because the top 8 players have shown to be the best and the most consistent. So there's a bunch of people that are further back in the scoreboard that I don't see making it to the playoffs, simply due to their performance in the previous steps. Now you erase the question of Masa, which is a very special case, of course. He joined Step 6 with 0 points. He replaced Sky, and he's basically starting from scratch with 5 steps to go, of which 1 is going to be deleted, because every player will have his worst step score deleted. And that will also apply to Masa. So he technically has 4 steps to work with, which is very little. However, I believe that Masa does have what it takes to make it to the top 8. Let me actually quickly check how many points he needs to make it.
It's like 90 or something, I believe.
Let me see. The top 8 right now is 92 points. Yeah. And that is possible if he takes a victory in 1 or 2 steps. I think if he does that, he could see himself in the playoffs. However, it is going to be difficult, of course. We all know Masa, who can be fast, but who makes mistakes as well. We have seen that in Step 6, for example. He won 1 map, but on Map 5, he threw it away because of 1 mistake, and that's where all of his valuable points went down the toilet. And that is just a little bit of a problem for Masa, I believe, at this point, especially the pressure. He knows that himself, that he needs to perform in every step now, and that certainly doesn't make it any easier. So it will be a difficult task, but I believe that Masa has what it takes to make it. So I am definitely looking forward to seeing what he's going to do in Step 7, 8, 9, and 10. Because, yeah, I see him as someone who can definitely contest the top players as well, even Carl Jr. and Pac, because he did already win 1 map in his very first attendance in the TrackMania Grand League. He won map 3 or 4, I don't remember. I think it was map 4,
yeah, 4
that he won. Map 4. So that is the perfect example that he can do it. But he really needs to yeah, get himself together and avoid making those mistakes, and sometimes even save it. Even though it's not his playstyle, I think that is something that he needs to learn. Other players have learned it as well. I have seen Pac making a statement not too long ago in the TMGL Discord, where he said that over the time of the TrackMania Grand League, he really learned how to play safe and to not take risks every single time, because it is simply not necessary when you have built up a lead before. It's something that all players in endurance racing do, all real-life endurance racers as well in Formula 1. There's also not, let's say, Lewis Hamilton, who is always going for lap records. That's A, technically not possible, and B, it is just unnecessary. So that's something that you need to pick up as a TMGL contestant as well. But yeah, it is something that players need to adapt. But I see that, yeah, Massa can definitely make it happen. Others, probably not anymore. There's a bunch of players that I don't see making it happen anymore. So I would say most of the top 8 should make it, and then there's Massa who might be up for a surprise.
We have a talk for now 60 minutes, but I have one last topic for you if you are okay with that. You have the upcoming Gamers Assembly. You have back in 2015 won it 2 times, but we haven't seen you of the full now sign-up list. So you will not attend this year. Is there any reason why you don't want to go back to Portia and sort of defend your double title there?
Well, there's nothing really to defend anymore because there's no Valley tournament anymore. There's only Canyon.
Oh, rip.
And I am not really interested in competing in Canyon anymore because, yeah, there's a bunch of physics changes that came with MP4 that I'm not really a fan of, that kind of nerfed me a little bit, that made me a bit slower, which I don't like. So I'm mainly not participating, A, because it's a pretty bad time for me. I have a bunch of exams coming up for me, so putting the time to practice is kind of, maybe it is possible, but not really necessary. Then on the other hand, I'm someone who has no organization, so I would have to pay everything on my own. And if there's no realistic chance for me to win something, then I simply won't go, because it will just be a minus for me at the end of the day. Of course, it will be a nice experience to meet the players, but I don't want to go to a tournament to compete in a competition that I can't win. That's just not how I compete. I want to win. Yeah. I have a winner's mentality, and I don't want to just compete and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to be happy with 8th place. That's fucking stupid. So yeah, I think that is also the main reason I want to win. And I can't win tech, I can't win full speed, I can't win dirt. Those are styles that... Dirt, I can maybe get into the final if I'm having a good day, but I certainly can't win. So, yeah. I'm, let's say, pussing out a bit. But, yeah, also, of course, the time thing and the lack of organization that makes me not attend right now.
It's 2 weeks until it takes place. I haven't asked anybody about the casting. Are you having some sort of deal with Gamers Assembly? Have you gotten the go for, okay, you can be the caster here? Or is it still up in the air?
Unfortunately, it is still up in the air. I did contact the organization behind the Gamers Assembly. Futurolan, or I don't know how they're called. But yeah, I sent them an email and I was asking, hello, I want to be the caster for TrackMania 2 Stadium Tech. But I have not received an answer as of now. As we're speaking, I have not received an answer. I sent out the mail like 4 days ago or something.
Okay.
And I sadly didn't receive an email. So I'm hoping that I will receive the confirmation next week. It is Sunday right now for the people listening. So I'm hoping that we're going to receive something in the next days, because I really want to cast the Gamers Assembly. We have such a crazy lineup this year. I think it's going to be a phenomenal match and a phenomenal tournament this year. And I really don't want to miss out on that. And it would be a shame if there would be no cast at all. That would be a real big loss for TrackMania. Since I said earlier, there's so much going on in the game. The game is growing, and now having no cast for a big competition would be, yeah, a very negative thing.
Yeah, if you are looking at the sign-up list, let's talk about tech. Do you see any clear favorites here, or who do you predict going into the grand final and to win it all in the end?
Let me actually quickly put up the list here of participants. I didn't quite follow that as of yet. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are going to go this time. We have 56 slots. We had the debate in the public discords about opening up more slots because more people wanted to play. Yep. And that's just such a great sign already. Seeing so much interest in the competition, that's really, really nice to see. So, of course, sad for the people that can't go. But then on the other hand, you always have to keep in mind that registrations aren't like free for everyone, or not like you deserve a spot, you know? Like, it's not like, yeah, I played last year, I need to get a spot because I won or something. Like, first come, first serve, right?
Yep.
So you gotta be fast, and if you're, you know, late, then you might be missing out on a spot. So, of course, it's also a little bit unlucky for the players that didn't get a spot. But, yeah, I'm looking at the participant list right here, and we of course have the Sumpy guys. I see Pack in there, so I think with that we have 3 finalists already. Maybe Onyo, Yo-Yo. I see a bunch of good players in here, so these 2 players definitely as well in here. Apart from that, Dutchy also, Wagentje also. I think these could also be putting up a good fight. So for the final, if I were to put finalists into the mix already, Pack, the Sumpy guys, and then either Yo-Yo or Onyo.
And let's hope that Masa, who currently signed up for Full Speed, can eventually get into the tech event there.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure what's up with that. Yeah, as you said, there's people that signed up for other tournaments, and they were hoping to get into tech. I hope it's gonna work out.
Yeah, I also hope so.
Let's see. I mean, I don't know, because will Masa just go there now for a potential full speed tournament? I don't know, but yeah, it will be interesting. I think I saw a bunch of other people who did the same. I think Shorty also did the same thing for full speed.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, some full speed players are looking, I don't know, down on it because they take up a slot in a tournament that they don't want to play. Do you think that it's quote unquote unfair, or is this a tactic that maybe might work out and everybody could do it?
I think it's a two-sided sword. On the one hand, as I said before, no one deserves a spot. Everyone has the same chances of getting a spot. So if you were one of the people that didn't get a spot because you were too slow and you missed out on it, unlucky. On the other hand, of course, it is questionable to register for a tournament that you don't want to play and you're just hoping to drop into another tournament due to, I don't know, maybe someone doesn't come and then he gets that slot. Yeah. I think that's a bit shitty, but yeah, I think there's no right and wrong here because, as I said, there's 2 ways of seeing this. But yeah, I don't know what to think about it, to be honest. Yeah. I don't wanna say Shorty and Masa are assholes because they did this, because I can certainly understand what they did. Yeah. But I don't know, man.
Let's hope we get some clarifications on Tuesday. I believe we will get information about the slot situation then. But now, okay, 1 hour and 17 minutes and counting. I'm running out of my topics, but is there some topics that we haven't covered that happened from last time until this time, or something that you are going to do in the future that you want to share with people? Is there something that we missed out on?
Yeah, the only thing that is kind of still something that I am a bit angry about is the whole server situation that is holding certain tournaments back from being hosted. For example, I am hosting my Multi-Environment Cup XD race, which is a multi-environment cup hosted on all 4 Team 2 environments. That one sadly can't be hosted right now due to server problems. And also other competitions like TTC, like PEC, like Spam's Endurance Race. Many competitions are being held back by server problems. And I am still angry about it, and I could still rant about it because I don't understand why Nadeo is so ignorant about this. They are not communicating with anyone about a possible bug fix for that, because there are many things that are going wrong with the servers. On the one hand, join lag. On the other hand, red times that players get randomly. On a third imaginary hand, we have engine sounds cutting off in the middle of a round, which can really mess up your head. If you play with engine sounds, all of a sudden it's just gone. Like, what is that? And these are all issues that exist for more than a year now. And that is a long time. 1 year of not doing anything, not even communicating about it, I think that's a little bit of a shame. And that is something that, well, I will just rant about here because I have the opportunity to do so. So, I think this definitely needs a bit more awareness. I'm not sure if Nadeo is really 100% aware of what kind of impact this bug fix or, this bug in general has on their game, because there's a lot of potential revenue, potential visibility that is getting lost because of these competitions not being hosted. There's a lot of participants for my competition, for example. We had a full 100-player server for the first race of the second season of my XZ race, and then it didn't work because the server died completely. We could narrow down one issue, but the other issues that I just mentioned are coming from Nadeo's side. That is 100% sure. So we still need to communicate a bit more, I believe, and try to work together with Nadeo to fix this, because it is game-breaking, I would say, and this really needs to be fixed, because it is just infuriating to see so much potential in the game still being left, also with Spam's endurance race, which is kind of similar to TMGL, just less professional and less serious, but still very fun and very appealing to all kinds of players, to pros, to amateurs, to new people, for viewers, for sponsors, for everything. So these formats are really important for the game, and it is as important to fix the issues that that hold these competitions back. So yeah, that's something that makes me really sad. I have written a news post, not a news post, but a forum post in the Mania Planet forum, explaining what's wrong, explaining what the consequences are, and Spam did the same as well. However, as I said, we haven't received any response. No one has really tried to help us in that regard. The TTC team, for example, kind of fixed it with 100 billion workarounds, which I believe is also not the way to go. We are the customers of Mania Planet. We bought the game. We buy a product that is supposed to work, and I don't see why Nadeo, who is the company that is behind that product, is refusing to fix what's broken. I just simply don't understand that. I do understand that it is maybe a difficult thing to fix, but I think that's no excuse to just rug it under the carpet and be like, yeah, we're gonna fix it maybe at some point. I think that's just a not excusable mindset, really. So yeah, if you wanna contribute something to that as well, then yeah, you can do that on the Mania Planet forum. I think the more posts we have it, the better. Of course, talking to the viewers, to the listeners right now. So if you are maybe someone who's hosting a tournament, but who's being held back, then yeah, try to speak up, and we gotta raise the awareness. There's no other way.
But do you think the bottleneck is simply that Nadeo doesn't try to fix it? Because, like you said, at the TrackMania Grand League, Hillis himself was active in the chat trying to fix this mid-road bug, probably because that affected the TrackMania Grand League. So if the endurance race, XT race, had some sort of influence into the Grand League and some sort of Ubisoft and Nadeo's project, do you think that the problem would be easily fixable? And the problem here is just that they don't use the energy and the sort of people they have to fix it.
I think that's a big problem, yes. They are putting the priorities on other things, on Grand League, and on probably the other things that they're working on for Mania Planet. Hylas has, for example, announced a big project, quote-unquote, which is supposed to be released at some point. We don't know what it is. But yeah, I believe that most of their energy is going into that, which I don't really think is a good approach, because the customers that they have are using a half-broken product, and they shouldn't just go ahead and work on something else while the product that is on the market is broken. That doesn't really make a lot of sense in my eyes as customer and as someone that maybe doesn't understand the business to 100%, but still, it's yeah, something that I believe if it had more impact, that they would maybe look into it a bit more. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say because we don't know what's happening in the background for Nadeo. But yeah, it's just making me sad just thinking about it, because I want to host competitions. Others want to host it as well, because it's a good chance for us as streamers to grow a bit, to give something back to the players, to have the players have some fun as well in the game. And yeah, we can't do that because the game doesn't let us. That's just sad.
Yeah, exactly. When it's like a community-based game, and that's what's keep the activity up in the game.
Yeah, exactly. It's a community-driven game, but the tools that are being given to us are broken.
Yeah,
that's not how it can work.
Like telling a guy to build a house with a bad hammer or something.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's just not going to work out. And 1 year of time should be plenty to fix a bug like that. I'm pretty sure that it is not an easy bug to fix. But I am also very sure that they could fix it, because they are not stupid. They have made up this amazing game, so they can definitely make it. They can definitely fix it. I'm very aware of that. But yeah, something is holding them back, and I'm sad.
The last 11 months or 12 months, we have now talked for at least 3.5 hours, maybe 4 hours on this podcast. But I'm not surprised if suddenly in 2 months we are back here talking about a potential playoff, talking about the game moving forward. How do you see the future in Trackmania moving forward now? Is it really as great as maybe me and you think it's going to be? Or are we just the optimistic people in Trackmania?
I've personally always been very optimistic about the game, even in the past few years where we had a couple of down phases where the game didn't really look that great anymore, where organizations jumped off, where players left, where many things were broken. I think now we're kind of in a era of revival, maybe, mainly due to TrackMania Grand League, maybe a little bit due to the Twitch streams as well. So I do see a growth, because I do observe the game in many aspects. I do see a growth in players. I do see a growth in interest from outsiders that don't know the game. For example, I'm streaming daily, and almost daily there's at least one guy that is like, hey, what is this game? Looks pretty cool. Can you explain it to me? Or, hey, I'm coming from Trilux. I saw the TrackMania Grand League cast, and I want to get into Trackmania. Which Trackmania game can you recommend to me? So I can definitely see a growth myself, and that just strengthens the positivity, even though there's always a little bit of negativity looking at the issues that I just talked about. But in general, I believe that Trackmania is far from being dead. Many people say, Trackmania is dead. But I believe that the game is far from being dead, and there's definitely a lot more to come. Also, in regards to esports with Trackmania Grand League, I think that's a good concept. The professionality that is behind that competition is really good. The production value is very good. So I think they're now maybe trying to get the ball rolling a little bit and put the game back on the map.
Riolu, it's been a pleasure once again. But do you have any final words for people who listened, maybe survive the 90 minutes of me and you talking again? What is the final words you want to share with the people of Trackmania?
Yeah, of course, shoutouts to everyone who's trying to keep the game alive in some way. The community, as I said, is the vital part that keeps the game alive. So everyone who's contributing to the game is appreciated. Everyone who's building maps, hosting competitions that work, making every sorts of things possible, streaming, or just being a lurker and playing the game. Yeah, you guys make it happen. And yeah, shoutouts to all of my fans. Can I call them fans? It sounds so weird. Sounds like I'm Ninja. I don't know. But yeah, shoutouts to everyone who maybe likes what I do, who likes my casting or the streams or whatever I do. Shoutouts to especially those. You know who you are. And other than that, thank you for listening, I guess. It has been a long one, again. Was it longer than the first one?
Yeah, I think so, by some minutes.
Oh, fucking hell.
I didn't expect that. It was like 30 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, but I tend to talk a lot.
Yeah, it's always interesting to talk with the minds of Trackmania, at least with someone experienced like yourself, 11 years, and then you have me like maybe 2 years or 3 years in Trackmania.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to bring some of my experience to other people. That's also something that I like to do on stream. For example, when people ask me how to do this or how to do this, then I'm very happy to explain what I know, what I learned when I was younger, you know? I feel like a little wise man sometimes, knowing so many things about the game and bringing it to the younger generation. It sounds so weird, but yeah, I guess you get my point.
Yeah. And if you want to follow Riolu and follow his streams, they are on Twitch. The link's in the description. You have him on Twitter now as well, and YouTube with 10,000 subscribers there. So the man is rolling, and I'm sure you want to jump on the train and just follow him. Riolu, as I said, it's been a pleasure, and I'm not surprised if I will see you again in 2019.
I think so too.
Thank you, man. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you as well. Bye-bye.